When I was 36 years old, I went through a near-death experience that was a major turning point in my life. Prior to this, I had a strange dream. In the dream, I found myself on a planet I had never seen before. The sky there was a purple color that gave off a mesmerizingly beautiful glow. On this mysterious planet, I met Jesus. There was a dazzling light emanating from Jesus. I was about to approach Jesus, but as I took my first step, he pointed to my right. I looked to his direction and was surprised to see two little boys there. These two little boys were crouched on the ground and they were happily playing in the sand. They both had blonde hair. Their faces were innocent and sweet, and one of the boys looked a lot like my husband. As I got closer to them, I felt a special energy emanating from them. The light of Jesus shone upon them as if guarding these two pure souls. As I stood before them, they turned their heads and looked at me with smiles. The child who looked like my husband spoke, his voice pure and warm. I felt very close to them as I stood in front of them. Both boys looked so cute. I knew that they were my future children. However, I felt a little uneasy. As I thought back to my past, every pregnancy came with great risks and physical torture. With my first child, I had to deal with heart problems, and I experienced unforgettable pain then. The second pregnancy resulted in an injury to my spine, which left me in prolonged and excruciating pain. I was afraid of enduring physical and mental torture again. When I woke up, I tried to comfort myself by telling myself that it was just a dream. 6 months later, my husband and I usually used birth control, but I still got pregnant unexpectedly, which made me very depressed. I began to worry about the state of my body and was afraid of going through the risks associated with childbearing again. However, my husband was very excited because he had been longing to have a daughter. I warned my husband not to get his hopes up. I had a strong premonition. The birth will definitely be a boy. No matter how it turned out. I knew this child would be a gift to our family. During the 7th month of my pregnancy, my spine was compressed, making it very difficult for me to walk. This made me begin to fear for my safety and the safety of my child. One day, when I woke up, I felt tightness in my chest, which made me even more nervous. It was then that I heard a voice saying to me, "You have to go to the hospital." The voice was so clear that I wasn't sure where the voice was coming from. Was it a deep inner intuition, or was it a prompting from some mysterious force? After thinking about it, I decided to listen to my inner voice and chose to go to the hospital. Although this decision made me uneasy, I believed it was for my own protection and that of my soon-to-be-born child. At the hospital, I described my symptoms to the doctor. The doctor told me to stay in the hospital for the time being for further examination and observation. However, things were not that simple. After only 20 minutes, I suddenly fainted on the floor. My consciousness became more and more blurred. The nurse quickly appeared at my side and immediately placed me in a hospital room. She examined me thoroughly. She acted very nervous and told me to wait here while she went to call the doctor. I was in very bad shape and felt like I was going to die. The nurse told me to keep waiting for the doctor. I felt very angry and desperate. I felt like a beached whale, struggling helplessly. I wanted to sleep more and more and felt like I was losing my sense of the world around me. All this made me feel extremely scared and helpless. I longed for timely help. After closing my eyes, I realized that I had appeared in the middle of a tunnel. I noticed a soft bright light at the end, radiating an immensely warm energy. As I attempted to approach the light, I found that my movements became very difficult. It was as if an invisible force was preventing me from moving forward, preventing me from easily approaching that light. Nonetheless, I didn't give up, and I kept moving hard towards that light. Just then, I heard a voice speaking from behind me. The voice seemed to be discussing something, and her heart was about to stop. However, I was completely uninterested in the voice, and all of my attention was focused on that light. That light contained great magic power, and it captivated me. The light radiated endless love and warmth, and it made me feel very excited. I knew that something wonderful awaited me at the end of the tunnel. It seemed like a door to the unknown, enticing me to explore more mysteries. As I got closer and closer to that bright light, my connection to my body became fainter and fainter. In that light, I saw the outline of a man. Even though his face was blurry, I could sense that it was a man. He beckoned to me, as if guiding me. I was filled with curiosity, wondering if this man was an angel or a loved one I had once lost. The man's silhouette became clearer, and although his face was still blurry, I could feel the warmth and compassion in him. He seemed to be guiding me, signaling with gestures for me to approach forward. As I got closer to him, I began to feel a familiar vibe, as if I had interacted with him a long time ago. I seemed to have some kind of connection with him, and although I couldn't explain it, the feeling felt very familiar to me. "Jesus, is that you?" I asked tentatively, and although I couldn't make out his face, my instincts told me that he was Jesus. He smiled and nodded. Even though there were no words exchanged, I was able to sense his care for me. It was here that I began to look back at the events of my past life. I saw the moments of joy and sorrow and the people I loved. I gazed at the man once again and I begged him to let me be with him. He gently shook his head as if to tell me that now was not the time. The man patted me gently on the shoulder. Just then, a voice suddenly interrupted my trip. I heard voices from the hospital. And the doctor kept telling me that you must hold on, for the sake of the baby in your belly. I realized that I couldn't be a selfish mother, I had to make a decision for the baby in my belly. It was a tough decision, but I knew I had to go back. I couldn't give up the baby in my belly. I knew I had to go back to the real world. Upon returning to the real world, I felt myself reconnecting with my body, but my entire body was in pain. It was obvious to me that my heart was beating erratically. I was told by a professional cardiologist that I could not have a C-section yet and that I had to wait for my heart to stabilize. I accepted the doctor's advice, understanding that it was for my safety and that of my child. Looking back on the whole experience, I feel how lucky I was. From the reminder to check into the hospital, to my return to the real world. Throughout this crisis, I was protected by some kind of power. At the same time, I am very grateful to the nurse who shouted in my ear. Hearing her voice made me realize that I had an important responsibility. On the third morning, cardiologists and surgeons prepared to deliver the baby, and I was fitted with a heart monitor. The doctors were not sure if there would be any accidents during the delivery. The doctor asked me if there was anything I wanted to say to my family. I replied, no. Because my husband and children know that I love them and I tell them that every day. Although we are facing a huge challenge right now, I believe that my child will survive because I have seen him in my dreams a year ago. This gives me confidence in my child's future. I felt very calm while the anesthesia was working. I had no fear of death anymore. I believe that no matter what happens, my soul will always be guarded and guided. Now, I am willing to accept that this is the way it's going to be. There were a few hiccups during the surgery, but overall it went well. Another boy came into our family. Even though my husband was a little disappointed because he had been hoping for a daughter, we were filled with joy at the arrival of our child. I realized that this child was a special gift from God and a blessing to our family. Over the next few days, the pain gradually disappeared and my body recovered. I thanked God for giving me a second chance to be with my 3 sons. Now, my oldest son has grown into a fine young man. He had his wedding last month, which was a big moment for our family. On that day, he wore a full dress with a happy smile on his face. There were times when the disease brought endless challenges, but in the end, we overcame everything. Now, watching my eldest son find his own happiness, I feel that all the hard work and perseverance was worth it. My second son is also following his dream. He loves music and chose to study music composition and performance in college. His talent has been recognized and his musical compositions have become popular on the internet, gradually winning him a group of loyal fans. I am proud of his efforts and hope he will continue to persevere and realize more of his dreams. The youngest son, on the other hand, is the joy of our family. He is lively, cute and full of curiosity, always bringing us laughter. I thank God for giving me a second chance to witness all this. If I had made a different choice at that time, I might have missed it all. I felt God's presence and His love for everyone. He pays attention to the smallest things on earth. I learned from this experience that every moment in life is precious and every choice could have made a difference. God's love and blessings let me know that I am not alone and that He is always with me. God's presence convinces me of the beauty and meaning of life and gives me hope and confidence in the future. I will cherish every day and thank God for all that He has given me, including my family and children, for these are gifts beyond compare. What confuses me is that another child, as of yet, has not appeared by my side. I am convinced that this is all God's plan. Perhaps the other child symbolizes some deeper meaning. Although I have been looking forward to the appearance of that second child, I also understand that God has His own timetable and arrangement, and perhaps at a specific moment, that child will appear in my life and bring more revelation. I believe that God's blessings will always be with me, guiding me on my journey into the future.